Welcome. Today we're going to be doing a partial playthrough of a game called Killslash. Now, this is a solo journaling RPG where you take on the role of a notorious killer that is part of a B-movie slasher film. And being that it's a journaling game, you're going to be writing down your experiences as you hunt down your next 4 victims. So you can write down as much or as little as you want as you're doing this, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to be explaining to you my character's experience. And if you haven't connected the dots yet, since I will be literally describing how I am trying to hunt down and kill my next 4 victims, this is going to be a pretty mature video. So if you don't want that type of content, then maybe skip this video and join me on the next one. But if you do want that and you want to hear more, let's dive in. So to begin, what's needed is all you need is a D6, you need a pen or a pencil, and you just need the player sheet. And what's nice is the player sheet, this is where you're going to keep track of everything in the game. Now, it does come with these nice single-page chart that has all the reference material that you're going to need as you're playing. I'm not going to show that to you just because that's going to kind of give you the whole game away, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. So I'll kind of be explaining things as we go. So to start the game, there is a little bit of setup, and I've already done it here, but what you first need to do is you need to name your killer because everyone has a name. So I chose Axel just because I thought Axel was a cool killer name. After that, you need to choose what type of weapon that you're going to have. And this is actually kind of where you set the game length and the game difficulty. So you can choose... So in this game, I chose to use a pencil, but which is classified as a small weapon. But you can choose a small, medium, or large weapon. And the small weapon, what that's going to do is every roll that I make, I'm going to subtract 1 from it. And that's going to be a harder game. That's the longest possible. If I do a medium weapon, then I'm just going to take whatever the result is on my die. And then if I do a large weapon, I add 1 to it. And these weapons that you choose, they're really whatever you want. You just kind of try to keep them in the realm of small, medium, large. Like for me, small is a pencil. Medium might be a baseball bat. Large might be a chainsaw or a sword or something of the sorts. But for this game, I'm going to be doing the small one, and we're going to be doing a pencil because I think it's going to be fun. After that, for your setup, you want to go to your location. Now, this is where you need to decide where is your killer actually hunting down your victims. This could be a school, a park. I've chosen a camp. And the game encourages you to choose a location where you can individually hunt down your victims, where they won't hear the other ones being hunted as the hunting is happening. But really, to me, it's kind of up to you. I mean, whatever tickles your pickle. It's you can have it as grounded, as realistic as you want, or not. I mean, it's your game. You can have fun with it. But for me, I chose a stereotypical camp, and I've named it Camp Science. You can give it a nickname if you want. Sometimes it might be Camp Blood, Camp Murder, or something like that. But I kind of decided on Camp Blah because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is a camp where these high schoolers, they go and they're there for summer camp, and it's supposed to be science, space, cool camp, but they're not really having it. So all the kids are calling it Camp Blah. So that's the nickname for the place. And the other questions you kind of want to ask too, and the game encourages this, is what is like the first thing people notice about this place? And for me, for Camp Science, and this could be why it has Camp Blah, is when you drive into the camp, you can see all the letters that say Camp Science. They're all crooked. They're like this faded yellow. You're not really getting the vibe. It's obvious this camp hasn't been taken care of that well. And then usually when kids drive up, they can see that, okay, there's a lot of trash scattered everywhere, and it's obviously there's not a lot of care taken to this place. So ask questions like that. And you could even ask, hey, what's the significance of this place to your killer? And that's what's going to be neat about this game, because you're going to essentially, and you'll see it as we start playing, it's you kind of reflect as from the killer standpoint. So it could be, why is this place significant to my killer? And in our game, let's just say my killer, I don't know. Let's say he went to this place as a child and he had a really traumatic experience. What was that traumatic experience? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. So that's the location, and then after that, you've got one last bit of setup, and what you want to do is you want to choose the 4 victims that you're going to be hunting down. And what the game does is it gives you 8 archetypes that are your generic B-movie slasher type roles. Like there's the final girl, there's the cheerleader, the jock, the police officer, the nerd. I mean, it gives you a list of them that you'll be able to pool different prompts from and questions from as you play. And just for mine, you can just choose whatever you want. So I just went ahead and for victim 1, I chose nerd. I named him Milo. The nerd is the nerd. For victim 2, I've got the metaist. So this is the person that realizes that they are actually in a horror film. That's a funny one. You've got the jock. We all know the jock in the films. Super muscle, 6-pack, doesn't wear a shirt the whole movie, and it doesn't make any sense, but that's just how the guy is. And then you've got the police officer who doesn't believe any of the kids. So I've went ahead, chosen them, named them all, and other than that, then you're ready to play the game. So the way a game's going to work, there's going to be 6 steps to a turn, and we're going to step through this maybe once, maybe twice. We'll see how it all flows. But first, what you want to do is, as the story begins and the credits roll, all the game is going to be played in scenes. So the scenes are essentially, you can think of them as rounds, right? But for my opening scene, the way we're going to start the scene or turn, it's all the same thing, scenes, turns, but you need to first choose what victim you're going to attack. So for me, I just like logically doing them in order. I'm going to choose victim 1, the nerd. So after we've chosen him, now you get to answer a question about your victim. And what's neat is the game, I'm going to hide this. The game gives you prompts for different victim questions. And just looking at the nerd, and it kind of gives you a brief little summary, I guess. It says the nerd, a smart, fast, and weak teen. Fantastic for our first victim. It gives me a couple of prompts, but what I kind of like is something subtly scares them. What is it, and how do they react to it? Yeah, and then this is kind of how you start setting the scene for what's going to happen. So what I kind of like to think is, okay, Milo, even though everyone hates this space camp, Milo is the nerd. He's the one guy that's actually into it. So he is really just in this computer lab, cranking away at these problems, even though it's late at night, it's 9:30 p.m., everyone's already drinking in their little cabins and stuff, but Milo, he actually loves all the exercises and projects that he's been given, so he's hanging out in the computer lab, and then all of a sudden, he hears the wood floors creak on the door outside, and it's a loud creak. He said, well, that's weird, because you can hear every step that people make in this place. So he hears it, he perks up, he looks around, and he goes, well, that's odd. And he hears another creak, and he goes, creak, 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 and he hears someone walking towards the door. So freaked out, Milo, he gets up off his computer, doesn't turn off the computer monitor, and hides around the front teacher's desk, because it's kind of like this computer lab that's got all these long tables out there with different little stations, but then you still have that front teacher desk for when someone conducts class. So he runs from his computer station all the way behind the front teacher's desk, because obviously that always works in horror films. So that's my nerd question. I say nerd question, my victim question. And then after that, the next step of the turn, and this is step 3, this is where you describe how and where you find the victim. So as I walk in, obviously the footsteps are me, Axel, our very cool killer. I slowly open the door, and I notice that all the computer monitors are off but one. And I hear a audible shaking, and I can hear the wood floors because they were so creaking. I can hear one go, and I think, oh, okay. There's obviously someone hiding behind this desk. So slowly I walk up to that desk, and I go creak, 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 and I can hear the audible breathing of our first victim, Milo. I stand there for a second, and I just kind of take in the fear. I feed off the fear of the nerd just freaking out, and knowing that he knows that I'm there, and I know that he's there, and stuff's about to go down. And right, people, you could be writing all this down, which, by golly, let's hope no one finds that journal if you write all this in one. That would be blackmail. Anyways, okay. So after that, now you get to just make an attack roll. So you're gonna roll a d6, and whoop, oh, what do you know? I got a 1. And because I have a small weapon, I actually do a -1 to the roll, but there's, you have an attack roll chart for your, I was gonna say your murderer, your killer, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't go past 1, but 1's as bad as it can get. But if I rolled like a 2 or a 3, I just -1 from the roll because I did choose to use a small weapon. So, yeah, so there's this chart, and if you're curious, I mean, a 1, I accidentally alert them to my presence, and what's neat is it gives you kind of an example, just to kind of give you more stuff to feed off as we're telling a story. If I rolled a 6, I kill them automatically, which is fantastic. If I rolled a 5, I would destroy them, which means you sever an arm or a leg, but in this case, I rolled a 1. So for the 1, it says you accidentally alert them to your presence. And it says, what did you do? So as I was standing over there, over the front desk, this front like desk podium of the, what do you call it? The computer lab, that's where we're at. I almost took too much time enjoying the fear of my victim. And knowing this, as I walked around, I took out my pencil, as sharp as it was, one of those yellow number 2 pencils with the pink eraser on it, and ever so confidently, I pulled it and I took a stab underneath the desk, but knowing that I was there, the nerd jolted back and I completely missed him, hitting the desk and breaking the tip of my pencil, making it dull and no longer sharp. So that's my attack, and what you'll notice too on this player sheet, so like the victim, you'll see that there's 4 health underneath them. So if I rolled better, like for you destroy them, right? If I rolled a 5, they would end up losing 3 health, and then I would end up marking it on here, 1, 2, 3, and then that would have been the 3 health that the person would have lost. Once you take out their last heart, you end up killing them, and you can describe how you kill them. But in this case, I completely missed. So after I attack, then now we go to the victim's turn. So now if the victim is still alive, make a victim roll and describe what happens. And just like the killer's one, there's a chart that based on what your roll is, that's what the victim does in reaction to you. So I'm gonna roll it, and that is a 4. So for the 4, it is, oh, here we go. They attack me. So as Milo jolted back, he saw, let's see, how does he want to attack him? Oh, I know, I got this. So as Milo jolted back, somehow with these great reflexes, as I was stunned that I looked at my pencil and I broke the tip of it, Milo grabbed my left ankle, pulled, and then pulled my balance from under me, and I fell backwards, and I hit my head on the wood, and I go, BAM! Doing so definitely hurt, because now I feel a little dazed. So for the 5, or I guess for the 4, as he attacked me, I, the killer, lose 1 health. And as you can see on the play sheet, boop, there we go. I'm going to mark that 1 health. And the way that's going to work for the health, once the killer, which is me, once I have taken all the hearts of damage, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, once I've taken 6 damage, then I die. But like any good B-movie film, the killer's not dead once you think they're dead. So I actually become resurrected, and then I have one final chance to kill all of my victims. So it's kind of like a last stand kind of mode. So anyways, but in this counter, I took 1 health, and then afterwards, we now go to a killer question, which is pretty neat, and now it's kind of, my killer is reflecting on that failed attack that I had done to my victim. So what I kind of like to think is, okay, Milo, he can either be there or he can escape, but my killer in this dazed state, now he starts like thinking like, oh man, what happened? And the game does give you prompts on what you could answer for this. So a couple of the questions are, do you wear a mask and why? And this is a way just to kind of learn more about the killer, right? But the one I kind of like is, why are you trying to kill these people? which is neat because I've already set the stage for why this place was significant to me, because I went to this camp as a child and I had a traumatic experience. So as the killer's in this dazed state, he's writing down, he's thinking, man, why am I trying to kill these people? Because I was one of these people. I was that nerd that stayed up late at night, and I just got really into the program. But you know what happened to me? I was so into it, and everyone picked on me, and they just made my life miserable while I was here. And ever since that camp, I learned that my passions didn't really matter because other people put me down. And as the killer myself, I let that get to me. So much to an extreme point that I don't want anyone else to have to experience what I did. So I'm going to end them quickly. So yeah, I mean, you can ask questions there like, why did I choose a pencil as my weapon? Or are people scared of me when they see me? What's their reaction? Did they give me a nickname? Anything that can kind of feed into learning more about yourself, which is the killer. So yeah, so that would be the scene or the first turn of the game. And after this, you do it all over again. So I could choose to go back after Milo the nerd, and I could pick up my scene there. And again, it would be, I pick him to attack, I answer another victim question, I say how I found him, and you kind of keep going. So personally, I kind of like continuing the existing scene. So I could have said, well, okay, I'm dazed, but I snapped out of it, and then here we go again. And I continue the scene in the computer lab. Or I could say, you know what, I'm going to go after the jock, victim 3. And the way I could kind of open the scene is, well, in my dazed state, Milo escaped, and then afterwards, I kept walking around the camp, and then I went here and I found the jock. So, and that's really the game. It's choose a victim, attack them. Either you're going to do damage to them, they're going to do damage to you, and if you kill all 4 of them successfully, you win the game, and you live for a sequel. So, anyways, that's pretty much Killslash in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, so long, farewell.